If you had unlimited money, you'd probably imagine driving a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or something loud enough to announce your success. But here's the strange reality. The wealthiest people on the planet rarely drive luxury cars. In fact, many of them actively avoid them. And it's not because they can't afford them, it's because they understand something most people don't. Luxury cars aren't symbols of wealth. They're symbols of visibility. And for the ultra-rich, visibility is a liability. Today, we're going to break down why real wealth prefers anonymity, why expensive cars often signal the opposite of power, and why the richest people quietly choose the most boring vehicles on the road. And exposure is expensive. Status is about being seen. Wealth is about being protected. Luxury cars exist to be noticed. They're loud, distinctive, and emotionally charged. They attract attention, admiration, and judgment. But the ultra-rich don't compete for attention. They already won the game. For them, driving a flashy car doesn't increase power. A luxury car creates what psychologists call a visibility tax. People look longer. Strangers feel entitled to opinions. Employees act differently. And privacy disappears. The ultra-rich understand this instinctively. They don't want to be remembered by valet staff, to become a talking point, to invite curiosity about where they live, work, or park. A luxury car turns movement into a performance. And real power never performs, and that's one of the strongest signals there is. New money often buys luxury cars as proof. Proof that they made it. Proof that they escaped something. Old money doesn't need proof. They already belong. That's why many ultra-rich families pass down something far less impressive than supercars. Discretion. Driving an understated car is a form of signaling, but only to those who understand it. It says, I don't need to impress you. Luxury cars don't just attract attention. They attract risk. Risk of theft. Risk of targeting. Risk of association. When you manage large amounts of capital, risk isn't dramatic. It's statistical. The ultra-rich think in probabilities. If a flashy car increases even a small percentage of unwanted attention, the expected cost is already too high. So they minimize signals. They blend in. Not because they're afraid, but because unnecessary risk is irrational. Here's another reason luxury cars lose their appeal fast. They're terrible assets. They depreciate aggressively. They require constant maintenance. They create friction. The ultra-rich don't ask, can I afford this? They ask, is this an efficient use of capital or attention? A car that loses value, creates visibility, and adds operational complexity fails all three tests. Which is why many wealthy individuals outsource transportation entirely or choose vehicles designed to disappear into traffic. And flexibility is power. Power values mobility, not spectacle. Being able to move freely, arrive unnoticed, leave without memory. Luxury cars lock you into an identity. But the ultra-rich don't want to be known as the person with the car. They want to be known as nothing at all. Anonymity gives flexibility. If you observe carefully, you'll notice a pattern. Extremely wealthy people favor neutral colors, standard models, predictable designs, not because they lack taste, but because they value predictability. The less attention you draw in daily life, the more control you keep over what actually matters. Luxury cars reverse that equation. They trade control for applause. Luxury cars aren't designed for the ultra-rich. They're designed for people aspiring to be rich. They sell a story that success should be loud, visible, and admired. But real wealth doesn't need admiration. It needs insulation. That's why the higher you go, the quieter the signals become. So the next time you see someone driving a very expensive car, remember, it might not be a sign of wealth. It might be a sign of visibility. And the people with the most power usually prefer not to be seen at all.